Hello and good morning. Welcome to our legal Tuesday today, the 21st day of November 2023, and I hope you are doing fine. Welcome to the program today. Today we are talking about the types of employment, and I believe that you are ready to be able to follow up what we are doing today. And as usual, we are having the Advocate of High Court, Mr. Wilfred Konosi, who is together with us in the studio to be able to help us put into perspective the matters regarding to employment, which we started last week. Today we are going to continue with the same topic, and therefore I'm asking you one question. Where do you think the employee rights are being violated? Where do you think the employee rights are being violated? On 23814 or 0721-105-105, 0721-105-105 is my WhatsApp SMS number, and then my ordinary SMS number 23814. And I'm asking you, where do you think employee rights are being violated in this country? And before we continue, we are having a short drama later on, but it's good to mention that in this program, today, we want to look into details how you as an employee, your rights are being violated by the employer, or do you understand your rights as you're working, whether in private entity or in public entity? And also, later on, I have a presentation to you regarding to a new bill which is coming in Parliament, which is trying to propose on how an employee should be handled by an employer, especially regarding to the issue of the transfer. And this one is basically for the public servants. There's a proposal that is coming in Parliament regarding on how you as a public servant, you can be transferred. And therefore today we will be looking at that in details, but far before we go, I want to remind you that today we are looking at types of employment, and even in details we shall also be discussing on contract. You have heard about signing contract at work. How does contract work? How does a contract get dismissed? How can you be maybe sued for violating the contract terms? But before then, I just remind you that 23814 is my SMS number. If you have any question you need to ask, you can post via 23814. That is my SMS number on WhatsApp, 0721-105 and 105. My name is Paul Kagi on behalf of my colleague Mangicho Mola. But before we go too far, let us first of all see the drama discussing on the contracts.
Just a minute, I'll call you back, okay? Margaret, come in. I'll call you back, okay? Thank you. Yes, Margaret.
Fine, sir.
Now, I don't know how to tell you this, but mahali imefika itabidi. Margaret, when ulikuja kazi mahali hapa, I was in your interview, and you are the best kwa wale ambao watu tulifanyia interview. But sasa saizi, complain after another. How many letters have you been given? Umepewa barua mbili za one. And it was very clear ya kwamba kama hauta meet our expectation as a company, the third one itakuwa a dismissal. We start with the board, and this is your letter. Meetings umekuwa umekuja umechelewa. Time, you don't keep time. Mimi personally nimekuongelesha even before you were given those letters. But I don't understand. My hands are tied, Margaret. Mimi nimejaribu kuongea na board, but sasa we have to release.
Give me a second chance.
Hiyo haiwezekani. So I'm sorry, but I wish you all the best with your endeavors.
Tafadhali tu.
If it were in my powers, that could be another thing. But now, haiwezekani.
Okay. Second chance.
Haiwezekani, Margaret. So I'm a bit busy. Kindly, can you please give me time? Please.
Okay.
So I wish you well. I wish you well. That is the policy of the company, and I cannot do anything about it.
Boss, tafadhali tu. Give me a second chance, please. Please.
Margaret, like I say, my hands are tied.
Okay, please, second chance.
There is nothing I can do for you.
All right, welcome back to our presentation. Today we are looking at labor laws, specifically the types of employment and contract. And we shall be discussing on this matter. I don't know whether you have followed the story, but this is where the employer can be able to maybe to decide to send you home without following the due process, especially by giving you what is supposed to be done in terms of contract. We know that there are many people who are sent home without following law. That is what we shall be discussing today. Even as you look at the clip, that is what has been happening. This lady was not given the due process to be able to retain her job, and the employer is insisting that nothing else he can do is just to send her home. And the lady is really crying because she feels that she was not given a chance to be able to present her case. As we discuss that, let me welcome our guest in the studio, Advocate of High Court, Mr. Konosi. How are you?
Habari yako?
Mzuri. Habari ya wiki?
Wiki imekuwa njema. Mvua mingi.
Yes.
Lakini hiyo ni baraka ya Mungu.
Kila mahali kuna mvua. Tunashukuru Mungu. Mimi pia niko sawa. Tunashukuru Mungu kwa sababu ya wiki imekuwa ni sawa. And we are happy for everything. There's this lady ambaye tumeona kwa clip who was called in the office by the boss simply because there were some issues at her workplace. And if you could be able to follow the clip, there was no maybe a process that is followed by an employer to be able to give her a chance maybe to present her case, but she was indefinitely sent home. All right? I don't know what we can learn from the clip before even we dig deeper to this topic.
Okay. Number one, under the Employment Act, we have a process which should be followed when you want to dismiss an employee.
Right.
We normally say that you have no reason to hire an employee, but when you are dismissing somebody, you must have a reason why you are dismissing that
I have
person.
never had that one.
Yeah. So under the Employment Act, Section 44, before you take any disciplinary action, before you dismiss anybody, even on grounds of what we call misconduct, which attracts what we call summary dismissal, you are supposed to give that employer a hearing. Number one, you should serve the employee with a notice to show cause why disciplinary action should not be taken against him or her. Once they have explained, as an employer, you think you want to go ahead with the disciplinary process, then you give notice to that employee that now we've seen your notice to show cause. You are supposed to come and attend a disciplinary hearing. You should specify the charges or the offenses which the employee has committed and give them enough time to prepare for their defense, say 7 days. Again, you should inform them that they have a right to be represented by a fellow worker, or if that employee is a member of a union, one of the officials, what we call shop floors, has a right to attend that disciplinary hearing.
Excuse me, before you continue.
Yes.
Those who are attending, a fellow employee or a union official,
yeah,
they are there as a witness or to speak on behalf of the employee?
To speak on your behalf. Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to make presentation by yourself?
No, you can make presentation on yourself, but the law requires that you have somebody present. Yes, either a fellow worker, if you are not a member of a union, and if you are a member of a union, you have what we call the shop floors. They actually participate in the deliberations of the hearing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, once a verdict has been reached that they now want to dismiss you, they should tell you whether there are any appeal processes and how to prefer the appeal. Normally those processes are contained in the human resource manual of any employer.
Yes.
So once your appeal is heard and determined, then...
As we continue again,
yes,
the appeal, does it happen within the organization or maybe outside the organization in the labor court? Where does appeal go?
Within the organization. That happens within the organization. So you file your appeal. If your appeal is dismissed, then you can now turn to court and say, look, I was either unfairly dismissed, and then put up your case before the Employment and Labor Relations Court.
Or once, if you feel that you are not...
Yeah, if you feel that the due process was not followed. Yeah.
And then when you go to labor court, is a new process.
It's a new process. You have now to prove your case. Yeah? For instance, if you are not given enough time, you can say, look, I was given 2 days to travel from Nakuru to Nairobi to do a hearing. That was not enough.
Okay.
Yeah. You can say, for instance, the charges against me were not very clear. Yeah. So that it will be up to you now to convince the labor court that your rights were violated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before even we look at the details of the contracts later on, I'm attempted to understand some of the basic reasons why an employer may decide to dismiss an employee. The most basics or small issues that can make an employee to be able to send an employer home.
There are many things. Missing to come to work without permission.
Yes.
Coming to work intoxicated, yeah, to the extent that you cannot be able to perform your duties. If you steal your employer's money, yeah, those are some of the grounds which constitute what we call gross misconduct.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is an issue of in employment, which I think we can look. I was supposed to make that presentation, but because I couldn't be able to, when I was checking on the Employment Act, the issue of the sexual harassment in our workstations, away from that, shifting our gear to the now employee. The issue of sexual harassment, how can employee lodge a complaint regarding to sexual harassment, especially where it involves a senior manager, who could be the person who is able to protect the employee?
That becomes very, very, very tricky, but we have, I think it's either Section 5 or 6 of the Employment Act, which provides that employees should not be sexually harassed. Yeah, and it provides for a procedure for you to report as an employee. Like you've put it, it becomes very difficult where the person who is harassing you is your boss. Where do you report to? But again, there is a recourse. Under the Sexual Offences Act, you can actually report this matter to the police. Yeah.
But you must provide enough evidence.
Yes, you must provide evidence to show that you are sexually harassed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, under the Act, the law requires that if you have more than 20 employees, you should have what we call a sexual harassment policy.
Within organization?
Yes, within the organization, which gives the details what to do if you are sexually harassed, how to report, and sometimes you can make an anonymous report where your safety is at risk.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that policy should have the investigation mechanisms, penalties if you are found guilty of sexual harassment, and all those things. Yeah.
I think the most I think uncomfortable thing and most controversial thing in terms of sexual harassment is where you feel that if you report this case, you are most likely to lose your job.
Yeah.
I think that is the most dilemma any employee can find him or herself, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see, the law requires that you are not stopped from suing your employer if he or she has violated your rights. Yeah, and now if actually your employer now dismisses you because you have reported, that again is a violation of your rights.
Your rights.
But as you correctly put it, most people would prefer and lie low because they need the job.
Yes.
Najua uchumi imekuwa mbaya, so I'd rather keep the job which I have.
Yes.
Which is wrong actually. Yeah. People should come out and speak against sexual harassment at the place of work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And therefore, again, as we finalize, the issue of maybe unpopular environment at work that could make an employer maybe provide a conducive environment to the employee. How does that come in? What could we call the conducive environment at a workplace?
I think last week we discussed that there are several rights which an employee is entitled to.
Yes.
You know, like housing, clean water, suitable accommodation, a place to sit. Yeah, all those things are provided for. But we have instances where employers do certain things which make employees to resign. And we call that constructive dismissal, where I make you so uncomfortable so that you have no choice.
You have to leave.
To resign. Yeah. And again, there's a process where you go through in court to prove that I was actually constructively dismissed. Yeah.
I think that there's some areas, especially these days, because we have the issue of clean water in our workstations.
Yeah.
Whereby we have issues with some ailments regarding to the unclean water, amoeba and typhoid, and many organizations really fail to provide clean water to their employees, and therefore employees decide to fetch water in the taps. It's very popular. And I think also personally is one of the violations that the employees do to their staff, because maybe you have your clean water at home.
Yeah.
When you come to work, the employer need to provide with you some clean water, isn't it?
Yeah. By the way, failure to provide clean water is a violation of your rights, because it's provided for under the Act. That as an employer, it's your duty to provide wholesome water.
All right, just to remind you, dear viewer, today we have Wilfred Konosi, who is the advocate of the High Court, and today we are talking on types of employment. I'm asking you one question: where do you think employee rights are violated? Where do you think employee rights are violated? Maybe you are working somewhere. Where do you feel that your rights are being violated? You can text me via 23814 or 0721 105 105, my WhatsApp number. 0721 105 105 WhatsApp number. You can text me there, or 23814. We are live on our FB account and YouTube on MBCI TV. And today, advocate, we need to look at the issue of types of employment. You had told us that we have types of employment in the Act.
Yes.
Maybe you can take us through.
All right. We have various types of employment.
Yes.
And it's important for you to know under which category you fall under, because of the benefits which accrue to you when you are put in a certain category as opposed to the other. The first one and the most popular is what we call permanent and pensionable. Yeah, that is where you are employed until you retire at a certain age. Currently, the retirement age is 60, but there are people who have, or there are some industries where that age has been extended, like lecturers, it is 65. Professors, it is, I think, 70 or 72. Judges, it is 70. So it depends on
where you're employed.
Where you are employed.
What is the difference? I'm hearing some people are being favored, like in judiciary, in lecturers. Why do you think?
Like for judges, that is provided for under the Constitution. Yeah. So there's really nothing much you can do to complain about that. When you come to lecturers, like I mentioned last week, that is contained in their collective bargaining agreements. Yeah, where they say, no, we have a shortage of lecturers. They should retire at 65. I also forgot to mention that persons with disabilities, their retirement age is 65.
Oh, 65.
Yeah, and of course, there is that provision that you can retire early and get your benefits.
Okay.
So this is the most popular employment, and when you are employed under permanent and pensionable terms, you are entitled to leave, again, depending on your employer. It would range from 21 days, maybe to 30 or 36. You are entitled to housing allowance and all these other benefits, which do not accrue to other persons, like maternity leave, paternity leave, and all those issues. So permanent and pensionable employees get those statutory benefits. Yeah.
And maybe before you continue to the others, the permanent and pensionable, does it only cater for the public servants or even the private institutions?
No, even private institutions. Yeah, when you're employing somebody, you should tell them under what terms you're employing them. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So maybe the other one?
The next one is a contractor, employments on contract. You can be employed on a contract, say of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. This one again depends on the period. Some people who are on contract are of course entitled to annual leave if your contract runs for more than 1 year. Normally they don't get pension.
Well, they don't get pensions.
Yeah, but at the end of the contract, they get some payment, a lump sum payment. So basically, that
does it have that ransom? Does it have some calculations?
Yes, some of them are provided for under the collective bargaining agreements. Like say you will be paid 15 days, the equivalent of 15 days for the years which you have served. And some other contracts will say upon successful completion of your contract, we will pay you a certain sum of money.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe before, because we are talking about the contracts, before someone signs a contract, what are the basic knowledge for someone who is looking for employment?
Well, of course, you need to look at the terms of employment and see, number one, whether they are in line with the labor laws of Kenya. Yeah. And then number two, whether they are favorable. Is that what you're really looking for? And again, you will see that in some contracts, those people are employed on contract, sometimes earn a higher salary than the permanent and pensionable employees. because they do not get these other benefits which permanent and pensionable employees get.
Do contracts basis provide house allowances, travel allowances, medical allowances, blah, blah, blah?
Yes, those are provided for. Yeah.
Okay.
But the problem, the trick here is that you are employed for a certain period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's 4 years, after 4 years, you go.
What is the procedure?
Yes.
Although you mentioned last week, but you can repeat this. There's the 6-month contract, there's a daily contract, there is 6-month contract, there's 1-year contract, 3 years contracts. How does it fall in?
Like I mentioned last time, before 2007, we had this problem where people were being employed as casual employees, but actually they were doing work of a permanent nature.
Yes.
You're paid like a casual worker. That means you are not given house allowance, you are not given leave allowance, yeah, you're not given all these other benefits. You know, you're not given pension and nothing. You would work for even 12 years, and at the end of the day, go home with nothing. Yeah. So the new labor laws, when they came in 2007, addressed that issue and said, no, we cannot keep on exploiting our people in the name of employing them as casual workers. And you remember I said a casual worker is a person who is supposed to be paid salary at the end of the day, and who does work which is not of a permanent nature. Then they came to these contracts now. 3-month contracts are renewable. Again,
3 months?
Yes. When you are on a 3-month contract, which is renewable, again, you don't get all these benefits. Yeah. But you remember last week, I also mentioned that if you are employed as a casual worker and you work continuously for 3 months, then your contract is converted into permanent and pensionable. You are now considered a permanent employee. Yeah.
Okay. And 1-year contract?
1-year contracts, those ones normally provide for you can take your annual leave, you are given house allowance, but at the end of the 1 year, that is it, unless the employer decides to renew it. Yeah.
What is the situation after 1 year? You have been in contract for 1 year. It is renewed after another year. That is 2 years.
Yeah.
Another year is being renewed. Where does it? Because you have said for the 3-month contract, if you do it consecutively, you fall into permanent. How about the transition between the 1-year contract and 3-year contract? What is the transition?
No, what happens is, if you are employed for 1 year, a 1-year contract, so that contract ends at the end of the year.
Yes.
If your employer decides to
renew,
that is you sign a new contract.
Yes.
So whatever happened between the first year, that is off.
It's forgotten.
Now you start afresh. You are on a new contract, which runs for a year. Same if you are on a contract of 3 years. So after 3 years, your employer can decide, I'm renewing.
Oh, so there's no advancing.
No.
1 year to 3 years.
If my policy as an employer is to give people to employ them on contract of 1 year, that is it. And you can see the rationale behind that. Why would I want to employ somebody on a permanent and pensionable basis when I'm not sure of how my business is going to do?
Yeah.
I'm tied with this person for the next maybe 40 years. Yeah. So I'd rather have you on contract and let you go when I don't need you.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Even for 3 years, the same.
Yeah, same.
You decide 3 years. Mine is for 3 years.
Yes.
All right. I think before we go to the next ones, we take for a short break. When you're coming back, we are coming back with the landmark ruling.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Launch into the deep and let down your nets for a catch. Luke chapter 5 verse 4. Welcome to the second season of the Kairos Youth Conference from 20th to 24th November 2023. Join us daily from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. as we delve deeper in faith with the theme, Launching Deeper. Hosted by Apostle John Kimani William and Reverend Naomi Kimani. The guest speakers include Bishop Jim Mwando, Bishop Jesse Ireri, Reverend Simon Chege, Reverend Evans Chumo, and Mr. Githinji Njogu. Come, let's celebrate and worship the Lord together, led by